Hi, everybody. Today I want to go over the steps with you on how to kind of navigate the Gizmo virtual lab that we're working on today. So if you go to this week's assignment page, this is for Tuesday, Identifying Nutrients Virtual Lab. So you'll go ahead and click that. And when you get to the assignment, this is a Google Doc that is loaded in here as a LTI assignment. What that means is it's directly loaded in. We were having issues yesterday with Google, so if this gives us a problem by the time you get to it, it might just be a normal kind of Google Doc that you'll open up and hit submit like normal. But this, if we can load it through this way, it prevents you from having to make a copy of it every time. So hopefully it'll work for you fine tomorrow, and we'll see. All right, so before you do the actual lab, you have to enroll in the course for Gizmo. And so what you'll do is if you're second period, hit the second period form. If you're fifth period, hit the fifth period enroll form. So you'll go ahead and open it up, and it's a PDF down here. And so it walks you through, and it's really simple to register. So basically you need to go to the website here, and it's an active link, or you can type it in, click on enroll in a class, and then here's your code. So this is the code that gives you access to the gizmos that I set for us, and then also allows me to see some of the work that you've worked on. All right, and then you'll do a username and a password. This is, you can make it up whatever you want. Just put it somewhere, or make sure it's something you remember, or put it somewhere where you will know where it's at if we do another gizmo, or when we do another gizmo. All right, so enrolling is simple, but you have to do that before you have access. All right, then you're going to watch this video to get some help, and then you'll go to the Gizmo website. And so we're going to do the Identifying Nutrients virtual lab on Gizmo. So if you click on that, then you can go ahead and go there. Yours will probably, my classes, and then you'll see Identifying Nutrients. Here's what the tag looks like. All right, the document that you're going to open up has both the directions and the procedures on how to do the lab. So make sure you put your name in, and then here's some important vocabulary: carbohydrate, disaccharide, lipid, monosaccharide, polysaccharide, protein, and starch. And so some of those are terms that you might have seen yesterday in the web quest. Some of them might be the ones that you remember, or maybe you need to look up a few of these words, but make sure that you know these vocabulary words. And then there's some pre-lab questions there. And then the Gizmo warm-up here. Basically, it's going to show you how to start. And so I'm going to work that through with you. So if we go to the Gizmo, so we have all of these different food samples and then our test solutions. And so if we were able to do lab in class, we would be doing this actual lab in class. But because of materials safety and handling, we will do it virtually this time. So all you're going to do is you're going to click on a test tube and drag it over to the food holder. So we'll start with tube A here. And then we see some tests down here. So what you're going to want to do is, for test tube A, we want to test, if we want to test for sugar, we use Benedict's solution. So you might need to write that down so you remember it the whole time. So we use Benedict's to test for sugar. And so if we go down here where it says Benedict's and we hit test, it'll take, I think it usually takes 2 samples. I don't know, just one in that case. Sometimes it takes 2 samples, 2 milliliters from each one. Okay, so with the Benedict's test, it has to be heated for it to work. Okay. And so we see in this test, it turned orange. So it started out with a blue color and it was clear, and now it's orange. So if we go back to our the assignment page, it says the Benedict's test is a test for monosaccharides, which are simple sugars, like glucose and fructose. In contact with monosaccharides, the Benedict solution turns blue to green to orange. So it starts out as a blue color, but then it'll turn orange if monosaccharides are present. And so in this sample A, we can see that it turned orange. So yes, monosaccharides are present. Okay, if we scroll down, it talks about testing for starch. And sorry, I'm not for sure exactly where it is, but I'll just go through the lab here. So we'll use Lugol's solution for testing for starch. So you go down here and click test for Lugol's. And what happens, and you should write this in your notes, If starch is present, it'll turn a purplish color. And so that's interesting. Usually it's a purplish color, but Lugol's is basically iodine, so it didn't turn purple. It's the same color as the indicator solution. So we would say this one was a negative test. So here, the Benedict's turned red when the original solution was blue. So this one is positive for simple sugars. This Lugol's test turned the same color as the indicator solution. So that's not a positive test. It'll turn purple if it's positive. And the Lugol's solution tests for starch, complex carbohydrates. So both of these first two tests for starch. Benedict's test for simple sugars, Lugol's test for starches. All right, and then you will use Biuret solution. So Biuret will test for protein. And if proteins are present, the Biuret test, the solution will turn purple. So I see here it doesn't look like it changed at all. So sample A did not change to a purple color, and so it's a negative test. And sometimes if we were doing the test in the lab, it's not an easy distinction between, oh, did it change colors or is it just a violet-y blue? So that one's a little bit difficult to see sometimes, but it will turn more of a purple color if it's positive. All right, and lastly, we'll use Sudan red to test for lipids. Now, if we were in class, we wouldn't use Sudan red. We would use paper bags, which is interesting. But if you've ever had a bag of French fries and all the French fries came out and that grease got on the McDonald's bag, you can kind of see through it. Well, lipids make paper, cellulose paper, they make it see-through. So if you can hold it up and see through it and see clearly, then you know it's a lipid. But the Sudan test is a chemical test and maybe a little bit more accurate. So the Sudan's test, we'll let that one run here for a minute. Okay, and I will take you back over to the assignment page and see if I can find, there it is here. Test number 4 here, number 4 test. The Sudan red test uses a fat-soluble dye, Sudan red, to indicate the presence of lipids. When lipids are present, the dye will be absorbed into the lipid and will appear as concentrated spots of color in the test tube. No spots indicates lipids are not present. So in this case, I don't see any spots. It's pretty much all one color, just like it is the indicator solution is. So I would say sample A is negative for lipids. So if we're thinking about what organic compounds are in this sample A, it's got sugar, but not starch, no protein, and no lipid. So we're thinking about what kind of foods might be just sugar and not any of those other things. And so you'll answer some questions along the way with that. And so you'll just work your way down, doing what it says, making some ideas. So that first one, if it's just got sugar in it, but it doesn't have those other things, is it apple juice, baked beans, oatmeal, or scrambled eggs? So if we think about apple juice comes from fruit, and fruit is fructose. And so, yeah, that apple juice is probably just going to be simple sugar. Beans and oatmeal are more complex carbohydrates, and eggs have protein in them. And so these other ones wouldn't be positive for sugar. They would be positive for other things, more likely. All right, so what you're going to do is run through, and in this first section, you're going to test food A, which we just did, E, G, and M. And then you'll continue on, you'll answer some questions about them, and then you'll continue testing the other food samples against each different solution to determine, is there monosaccharides, starches, proteins, and lipids? What things are present for each sample, and then answering some questions. Once you do one test, so this is for A, you'll click reset, and now you can do a second one. So if you wanted to choose Q, which one did it? Yeah, I chose Q. So put Q there. Again, we're just going to, you click down here to test. You got to give it its time to test, but you can go ahead and as it's doing one, then go ahead and test it for the other ones. We'll hit test for protein. And so while we're waiting for this other one to finish up, Okay, so here we have these bubbles, and so it looks different than the other one. So that's a positive test for lipids. So this sample Q contains lipids. If we see the protein here, it turned purple instead of the blue original color that it was. So this is positive for protein. So this has protein and fat. We'll go ahead and test for starch. So when you put starch together, oh, okay. So, or I'm sorry, starch and iodine is basically what Lugol's is. So this is a negative test for starch. And then see what for sugar. Okay, so sugar is one that has to be heated. This Benedict solution, you have to heat it. So Lugol's test is going to be a dark purple if it's positive. And so this Benedict's test, we didn't see any change. So this is negative for sugar, negative for starch. So it has no carbohydrates at all. It has protein and it has fat. Okay, so that's basically the gist. You're going to go through and answer the questions and fill in the tables with the information along the way. And then when you're done, submit. So you may be able to submit through the Google Doc. If not, there'll be a blue submit button up here at the top. All right, well, I hope that helped. If you have any questions, feel free to shout out or email me, and I will talk to you guys soon.